Welcome into Rounding the Bases, the podcast about culture and leadership with a baseball twist, presented by Enterprise Bank and Trust. Hashtag no stopping you. Enterprise Bank and Trust was founded by entrepreneurs with the core focus of serving privately owned small and medium-sized businesses who have a story to tell. Enterprise Bank's commitment is to listen, learn, and guide clients to a lifetime of financial success. Enterprise Bank, together, there's no stopping you. Hi, everybody. My name is Joel Goldberg, coming to you from the Kansas City Audiovisual Studios. They create engaging spaces. Check them out at at kcav.com. Before I get to my guest, got some really exciting news. I've been talking about the book coming out. I've been working on the book over and over and over again for months, and it's certainly been conceptually in my head in different forms for a number of years now. That book is done, and it is available for purchase. Going to do all the big announcement stuff come next Monday morning, but it's available right now. The Kindle version can be pre-ordered. The actual printed book is available on Amazon. It's going to start to work its way into some stores as well here in Kansas City. It'll be, I think, as early as next week in the Made in KC stores. And so if you're listening to this, you want to pick it up or jump online. The title of the book is Small Ball, Big Results. And I'm really, really excited about it. A lot of storytelling. It's got some baseball. It's got some business, some military. It's got a lot about life. And I hope at a time where there's such a need for positivity, that it is one that people can take inspiration from and learn from. And I think they'll be able to do that today with my guest, who I had the opportunity to meet. The beauty of this networking world and being online is that you can pick up a phone or a Zoom and talk with anybody at any given point. And I had the chance in recent weeks or the last couple of months to meet Dan LeFave. He is up in the Toronto, Canada area. He is the no excuse 7-figure high performance business coach and mindset engineer. Since 2012, he's helped entrepreneurs cut the time it takes to succeed and reach their goals in half and double their productivity. He's been featured in Success Profiles magazine and interviewed on shows from London to New York. And today he gets to come on Rounding the Bases. And I'm really excited to visit right now with Dan LeFave. And I think, Dan, good to see you, that all of us could make better use of our time. That is, I think, probably forever a goal for everyone. And some of them, maybe like you, are better at it than others like me. So I'm really excited to delve into the topic. How are you, and how is life up in the north of the border, the Great White North?
I am fantastic, thank you, and it's great. A little cooler, but other than that, sunny day, and we're all safe and sound. So it's fantastic, healthy and well. So that's all we can ask.
One of my favorite places in the world, actually the whole country of Canada. I don't know that because I haven't been to every single spot, but with relatives sprinkled throughout the country and with roots in my family that began a couple generations ago up in Canada. It's got a great place in my heart. And I love going up to Toronto every year for baseball, which I missed this year because we didn't play the Blue Jays because of COVID, and we as broadcasters didn't travel. So I can't wait to get back up there again when the time is right. So let's dive right into this. And first and foremost, if people want to learn more about Dan, they can do so at lefavecoaching.com, LEFAVE coaching.com. Dan, tell me about the type of coach that you are and your focus on time management.
Absolutely. Well, my coaching is for entrepreneurs that are scaling their businesses. So I'm looking for people that have had problems and have gone through all sorts of hiccups, and then they're trying to solve them. So I'm the solution finder. And because of my mentor, Bob Proctor, he taught me about mindset. And so, when we think that the outer game doesn't match our inner game, we're right, because the inner game is leading the way. And so we need to have our inner game really dialed in. So my clients come to me because they want to generate income. They want to hit 7+ figures. And what happens invariably is I say, well, fantastic, we'll do that. But I have to work on their mindset. I have to work on what their beliefs and habits and practices are. I have to bridge the gaps that they've built over the years. And so it's quite a bit of work, but there's a combination of foundational structures and processes and systems that I put in place, but also shifting their way of thinking. And just to give you an insight, I have to subtly make changes that they don't even recognize, because there's a part of our mind that will cause flight or fright, the amygdala. And so I have to actually sneak up on their fear and get them doing things before they recognize it. And then, at some point they say, oh, wow, I can't believe this. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's because we've been making the incremental changes. Now, you're not working 12 to 16 hours a day, you're working 3 and you're bored. So look at the, the contrast, right? So.
What a great problem to have. I think many of us would like that. And I think that many people that watch or listen to this podcast are probably like me. I'm always amazed. People are saying, gosh, you work so hard. You're all over the place. And a lot of that is social media. And I do a lot of things, but I think most of us are wired that way. I mean, if we're successful, we have that hunger, right? We were all taught to work hard. That was one of the elements that we always heard, whether it was in school or on the athletic fields or whatever our endeavors were. And you carry that into, later into life. And then you realize you have all these other responsibilities. And so I love it on your website. There's the question that is asked. It says, is this you? And it says, I'm crazy busy. I make business a priority and fit my family in whenever possible. I could put a check mark next to that. I don't know how to systemize and automate my business, so it needs me 24/7. Yes, I don't have a strategic plan to build a self-managing business that will create the life of my dreams. Working on that one at all. But how common is this?
Oh, it's common all the time. Like it's something that it's not, well, here's the problem. It's not taught in school. I mean, being focused and organized and planning, not taught in school. And if our parents didn't know it because they didn't learn it, then it doesn't get taught. So we've all missed this piece of information, which is so critical to our lives. And so we're trying to figure it out. And guess what? It's just a chaotic mess. It's reactionary versus proactive. I always say reactive people get the leftovers. Proactive people get what they want. And so it's about that shift from being reactive to proactive and being more in control, being more aware. And so the key thing is focus. People aren't focused. And the primary reason why they're not focused is because they're not managing their thoughts, because thoughts are the things that lead to results. And so they're not managing their thoughts. But even if you go deeper than that, they're not understanding the mechanics of their mind. If they did, they would manage their thoughts better. And then they would have more focus. So there's a complete breakdown. And guess what? It's hidden because it's in our mind. We don't know why we're doing things or not doing things. And it's because of that, the mechanics. We don't understand the mechanics of it. And so we're not managing our thoughts. And therefore, we're out of focus. And then guess what? We're reactionary. And then what do we do from there? We become a victim. We blame, complain, deny, lie. We get into this victim loop where we're looking outside saying, they're doing it to me. They didn't do this. They're responsible. I'm not. I've done what I had to. But in truth, we're not taking full 100% accountability, and we have to.
But it's hard to do that when you don't know about it. And I guess this is almost like in sports terms, it's like reprogramming a baseball swing, a golf swing. It's relearning the way that you've done everything your whole life. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that I'm right. And I know that's where you come in. So how hard is it to reprogram someone with their ways and their habits that, as you mentioned, oftentimes they're not even aware of them?
Well, it is very difficult, but you know what? The fortunate thing is everybody gets to a point where their frustration is extremely high and their motivation is usually high. So there's a push and a pull. And so the push is that, they need to solve something. It might be their spouse saying, hey, we can't live like this anymore. You got to fix this. Right. And then that might be the push. Right. But then the pull is like, okay, yeah, I want a better life. My future, there's a better future for me. And so, the key is to recognize that we have to have that motivation and frustration, high motivation and frustration. I don't engage with anybody unless they have that. So that's a key indicator. But the thing is, it can be changed. But guess what? There's an emotional cycle of change. It's something that we can actually map out and realize we have to go through the valley of despair to get on the other side. But also we're climbing a mountain. And I say a mountain because when we say, okay, look, I'm going to change, I'm going to improve, I'm going to establish the practices to succeed, and we start climbing, guess what? We're going against gravity. And we have this we have this habit gravity that's pulling us down, our old habits saying, come back down to base camp. It's nice and cozy here. There's a fire and some hot cocoa, right?
Mhm.
And we're like, no, we want to go to base camp. We want to go to, stage 1 or stage 2 or stage 3 of the climb. So habit gravity pulling us down. So we need a lot of escape velocity. And that's where people like me come in, because I can coach people. I can guide them. They're going to take the action to get the results, but it takes some guidance, because if they don't know what to do, they're gonna crash and burn. They're gonna quit sooner than they thought.
I want to answer those questions, or at least give some of the data that you have on your website to that question. The questions before about being crazy busy, is this you, all of that type of stuff. And you have the headline, "You're not alone." And I knew that I wasn't. 93% of small business owners are never truly able to remove themselves from their business. Yes, I fall in that 93%. 83% of business owners say they're constantly putting out fires. Yeah, I'd say fires or something. And 10% of business owners feel they are achieving their business and lifestyle goals. And so, when I saw that, Dan, it made me think that very small percentage is, and I don't know that happy is the right word. I'm happy. I love what I do, but I also constantly know that I could be doing it in a more efficient and a better way. And that is a work in progress, right? There's a maturation there, and a lot of it is learning as we go. And that is certainly where someone like you comes in. But and you touched on this a little bit, when you're able to get that client to be among that 10% that feels like they're achieving not just their business, but their lifestyle goals, what is that aha moment like?
Oh, it's amazing. Like I said, there's certain phrases that I recognize all the time, and they'll say things like, "This is crazy. I can't believe this." And then, I'm on the other side saying, "Well, get used to it. It's new normal." Right. So, but it's just amazing when they finally realized, I am not my old self anymore. I've made a shift, a dramatic one. It's been incremental. It's not fast, because guess what? The first 7 years of our life is where we're programmed for our future success or failures. And so we're in a hypnagogic trance. Every bit of information comes in is factual. We're in a state of mind where, we can't filter. We don't have a reasoning ability. Our reasoning faculty in our mind doesn't activate until 7, 8 years old. So guess what? That's all of our programming. Whatever happened in that period, if there was scarcity and fear and doubt and worry, whatever was poured onto us, that's who we become. And so guess what? I have to help them shift that. And it has to be subtly, incrementally. And then over time, they're like, whoa, I'm a new version of myself. Hard to believe. And then I'm like, yeah, okay, good. But let's keep it going, right? Because they can fall back to their old ways very quickly, because those are memories, right? And those are experiences that they can just lean right back on or go back to. It's like a cigarette smoker, they quit smoking, and then like something goes wrong, COVID comes, and they're like, okay, I got to do something, right? Back to smoking. So
that makes sense. And maybe the word of vice is wrong. Maybe it's right, but we all sort of get into that mode. I know for me and a lot of people, when you start getting stressed, it's like, well, the heck with it. The heck with the diet. I'm just give me a piece of that cake. Give me those cookies. By the way, COVID doesn't help when you have a teenager that loves to bake every night to kind of keep her at peace. And that's one of her activities. And so I bring that up because we do all have those triggers. And then you add in and you mentioned the pandemic. It's been one of, to me, the most fascinating topics to discuss on this podcast over the last 7 or 8 months, because as I said to you before, it affects all of us in one way or another. Everyone has been affected by this, and it is changing, or at least affecting some of those habits. And it is leading to a lot of moments and stress, and being around our family members and being trapped, so to speak. That might not be the right word for everyone, but how has this pandemic affected everything that you teach and sort of that mindset that you're talking about?
Well, the one thing that we already had going on in the world is we have 3 things that are going on that are, that are controlling people, and they don't recognize it's a hidden thing. And it's conflict, competition, and separation. And so we can see that, whether it's in politics or from one country to another, or even in the sports world, I mean, that's competition, right? And then there's also conflict going on. And, these things are on the rise now because everybody's in this, this mode where they're going back to their prehistoric brain and they're in survival mode. So guess what? Everybody's now heightened in terms of their conflict, separation, and competition. And I don't know about you, but I noticed this first few weeks of the pandemic. There were people that I used to see in the park and would nod and say hi to me and make eye contact, and then that stopped. Like there's complete fear, right? So this is the kind of thing I talk to my clients about, because I'm saying like, hey, look, if you're going to look at your world like it's against you, you're in conflict with it, and you're competing against it, that's not going to work. You need to find the cooperative folks, the cooperative opportunities. I always say, take the path of least resistance. And people are like, well, yeah, I don't want, is there an easy way? I'm like, yeah, well, there's a path of least resistance, and we're going to find it. And my skill set is I'm a solution finder. I have resources. I'm resourceful. I read, study, and learn all the time. I don't watch any TV or media. I just, I'm a consumer of information and knowledge and wisdom. And so, it's about understanding. The thing is, with my clients, they have to understand themselves a little bit better, and I help them do that. And then I help them understand their world and their business a little bit better, and then start tuning in and just taking little incremental actions, little subtle steps, because we have to sidestep that amygdala, that fight or fright mechanism, because it's there and it's ready to act. And right now, everybody's ready to pounce because it's really, really a pressure cooker. Nobody wants to step out and do anything that's out of the ordinary. Why? For fear of what's going to happen. How am I going to be perceived? What's going to happen? Could things go wrong? And so it's a different focus now. Everybody's kind of in a shell.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you, before I get to my baseball themed questions, about your moment when this all started to click. And I know that you write about it on your website, and I'll just summarize it by saying that you wrote, I felt like a failure as a husband and a father. The problem that I wasn't excited about my work anymore and exhausted when I got home. And then in bold letters, it says, then suddenly it happened. And you're right, I was fired from my job for the first time ever. I was stunned. And then that brings in a big mentor of yours too. Tell me about that time of your life and how things changed.
Well, sure. And, I'll go back to even when I was a child. My dad was a butcher. We had a meat shop. I learned to work hard. So I learned, ethics of working hard at a young age. And so no problem there. And very resourceful and aware of what I'm doing in my environment. So, yeah, I climbed I started off with actually in business with my brother in the 90s. And we built a wireless telecom communication business to 7+ figures and in 3 years. And, very rapid climb, but you know what? Then I went on this whole string of doing different things in wireless telecom, project management, real estate negotiations, and then I ended up working for a company doing managing their commercial portfolio, and I increased it to 25 million. But you know what? That wasn't satisfying, and I was actually home with my wife and second child, and I took a parental leave. And at the end of that parental leave, I was like, what am I doing? 3 hours of commuting back and forth, and for what? And to generate millions of dollars and get paid at maybe 100,000. So it didn't connect. But I went and I got recruited for another to another company. Went there, and then within 3 months, the probationary period, the axe came down. They said, this is not a good fit. You're done. First time ever in my life. So it was a shocker. But I remember that day I said to my wife, going to Costco to pick up a few things, just got let go. See you soon. And so pretty shocking. But you know what? It led me on this path of soul searching and looking for what I wanted. And ultimately, I asked a friend of mine who's a therapist, what I should do. And she said, what do you want? And I said, well, I want to be inspired and be with my family as much as possible. And she said, well, pray for that. Next day, I got a call from my friend's father, Ken. He has a successful network marketing business. And I knew about it for years because I had attempted it back in my 20s. And I was like, okay, well, I remember holding the phone in my head thinking, Ken, is this the answer? And then, but you know what? Here's the thing. Long story short, I said yes to Ken. I put 6 months into that business. It was total disaster. It's not for me. But you know what? It led me to, I received the book, The 10 Scrolls by Og Mandino, who used to be editor of Success magazine. And I looked that up. I found out Og was deceased. I found out Dave Blanchard was the CEO of Og Mandino. I watched his videos. he said, buy 10 of my books, get 8 weeks of coaching. I'm thinking, I could use some help. So guess what? I bought it, and I ended up going to Salt Lake City for an event that was for that network marketing company. And I messaged Dave because he lived just outside of Salt Lake City. And I said, can we meet for coffee? Because I'm very bold that way. And he says, well, when do you fly out? And I told him on the Sunday morning or something. He says, come and stay at my house Saturday night. Okay, Dave, you don't know me, but fine. So invites me over. At the end of that evening, after watching an inspirational movie, we talked, and he said, Dan, I think you'd make a good coach. And that was where we planted the seed. I came back home. My friend connected me with Bob Proctor. I bought all of his programs. I spent almost $10,000 buying his stuff just to learn. I didn't have any income, but I wanted to learn. And so anyway, I bought all those programs. And then she suggested, why don't you talk to his team? And I'm talking to his team. And that evening, he says, why don't we get Bob on the phone in a couple of hours? Bob Proctor. And I'm thinking, okay, sure. I don't know Bob. And then it happened. Same thing like with Dave Blanchard. In a couple of hours, I was on the phone with Bob. He was telling me about becoming a coach and the advantages and the transformation I could provide and all that. I felt it in my heart. I felt the butterflies, and I said yes. And I invested another $10,000. And so, no future income, but the promise of something that was going to be something that is my passion now. And so I just kept stepping forward, that crushing moment, 8 years ago or so, that turned into a blessing. It was my second. It was actually that's been my second chance. My first chance was when I was in a car accident when I was a kid. I almost died, and I was in a coma. But life's second chances come, and I got two of them, so it's pretty good.
It's really good, and a reminder too that sometimes in the darkest moments you could find something. And I bring that up right now because there's so many people being affected in different ways by this pandemic that may feel down and out, and that doesn't mean that it's going to stay that way. And there may be some opportunity there for everyone. I can't quite relate exactly the same way, other than the fact that when late March hit and I'm a week and a half away from baseball season starting, as a guy that's paid by the game, and suddenly I'm out of work for 4 months. And, I had that panic. And this is a job that's 6 months a year that pays a year's worth in 6 months. And suddenly I'm going to ultimately lose 2/3 of that salary. And a lot of good came out of it in different ways. And I won't get into all of that, but there ultimately was opportunity. But positivity was so important through all of that. So let's get to the baseball themed questions now, brought to you by Kissick Construction. Kissick Construction, trusted team, reliable partner. Check them out at kissickco.com. Dan, what is the biggest home run that you have hit in your career?
Well, it was, I talked about the building that business to 7+ figures with my brother. Well, that didn't end up being the greatest story in the end, because he and I didn't see eye to eye, and I didn't get part ownership of the business. So I left, and he went under. So, most people would say, well, that's not brotherly. But anyway, you know what happened? Because I went on to do project management, real estate negotiations, and I worked for the largest landlord in Canada, with billions of assets, and I managed their commercial portfolio. I ended up connecting with the president of a wireless carrier, and because that meeting, he ended up asking me how I got started, and I told him the whole story. And he said, "Is your brother still doing this?" And I said, "Yes, he is. He started up again." And guess what? I gave that one referral, and my brother did $1 million in business, or $1 or $2 million in that business in first year, and then went on to grow and grow and expand. So, so a negative story turned into a positive one in the end. But it was, didn't feel good on my part for leaving. But you know what? Guess what? It came back around years later.
Yeah, it all worked out. It was almost like a swing and a miss turned into a home run, and sometimes it can go that way. But let me ask you about the swing and miss. What's a swing and miss you've had in your career, and what did you learn from it?
Well, you know what? When I first started out, I didn't know what to do, and so I just went searching. And I'm good at saving money, so I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. So I started traveling, going to events, and studying people's courses, and so I devoted a lot of time and attention to learning about marketing. But you know what? I didn't realize that, marketing to me is like a painter doing accounting. And so I was trying to figure out marketing. Meanwhile, all I needed to know was some basics and hire people. but I really devoted a lot of time and attention to learning marketing. And that completely was a swing and a miss, because I didn't need to be doing it. I need to do what I'm specialized in, which is I'm resourcefulness. I have a lot of wisdom and knowledge to pass down, and systems and processes. So anyway, that's where I think I really missed the nudge, which was do what you're passionate about, do what your why, what you're really good at.
And then the last baseball themed question, and this is the one that the book is about, small ball, the book, Small Ball, Big Results. In many ways, and many of the stories come from this podcast and this question. What are the little things that add up to the big things for you?
Well, I'm a master of consistency. And in fact, everybody that works with me, I tell them if they want a PhD, they're going to end up with one. And they're kind of surprised. And I say, yeah, well, PhD is pig-headed discipline. So that's something I pass down to all my clients, because I think it's very important, plus determination. But the key thing here, and to answer your question, is that I have the ability to say yes. Like I can intuitively know what direction to go in when I see it and hear it. Just like I co-authored a book with Jack Canfield and Deepak Chopra and Dennis Waitley. That, again, was an intuitive pull and a nudge. And I just kept saying yes. So I said yes to Dave Blanchard. I said yes to Bob Proctor. I said yes to co-authoring that book. And so it's those incremental steps, but also tuning in and paying attention to what's going on and how that feels, and then stepping in that direction. Sometimes it's easy just to say no and not do something for fear of what the outcome will be, or it's going to cost too much. But I've invested over $300,000 in learning and development, and I'm not going to stop. It's just it's too valuable. Your business growth will never exceed your personal development. That's definitely something I know for sure.
Well, that's part of the secret sauce for you. It's also who you are, I think. I mean, you're just not going to stop. That's who you are. That continued growth, and obviously, that's a huge and positive trait to have. Okay, 4 final questions as we round the bases. The first one will be this: let's talk books and that combination of big time people that you're able to work with in co-writing that book, and then potentially one that is in the works. Tell me about that.
Well, certainly the co-authoring the book, I met somebody who did it. I went to her event and I saw her book and I said, how do you do this? I arranged a coffee. And so it's actually relatively easy in the end. When I realized it, I thought I'd have to connect with all these influencers and become friends and so on. But the publisher takes care of all that business. So, but the unique thing is it gives you so much authority. So after I had that book out there, I had so many opportunities for podcasts and shows and all sorts of opportunities sprung out of that. But in terms of the book that I've written, I wrote one that's called Living Life Your Dreams. That's published, but I do have one that I have not published, and it's about the inner conversations we have with money. And I can tell you, there are a lot of people having those conversations today, more than ever. And so this book is going to help solve that problem, because it's about how we're blind to what's going on and where we're investing our time and energy. And I have a motto that I live by, which is faith, family, friends, fitness, and finances, in that order, which is really tough to live by. But that's the focus of the book, is to help people put what's most important for them first. And in faith, I mean, faith in themselves or higher power. But faith, family, friends, fitness, and finances. Try living by those standards. Most people would say, forget it. I just can't. I'm not gonna do it.
Well, you got that discipline, that pig-headed discipline, the PhD. We'll call him Dr. Dan here. And again, the website is LeFaveCoaching.com, LEFAVE coaching.com. So you can find out about a lot of that and, some of the books. And then you sent me something when we first met on a phone call about a really interesting scheduler, which I'm not going to lie to you. I've already told you this. I haven't done anything with it yet, but now that the book is done, I feel like I have, in the holidays coming and a chance to kind of calm down a little bit, I'm ready to get a little bit of consistency here. So I'm excited to dive into it. Tell me about this scheduler that you created. And I think it's something also that people can find.
And it's awesome. It's a focus productivity planner, and it helps you really get dialed in and focus. So it's 12-week sprints. So every year you have 4 sprints that you're going to do. So the concept is turn 12 months into 12 weeks, because most people give themselves too much leeway. And why not take your biggest goal, plug it in, figure out what the tactics are, know what your key motivators are, your why you want this, what's pushing you forward or pulling you forward, and then get to work on it and then measure your performance. Because if you're not measuring performance, guess what? You don't know where your breakdowns are. You don't know where things are going wrong. And so this system is a lie detector test. So for people who can't handle that, don't even try it, right? But if you're open to taking incremental steps, measuring your performance, in baseball, they keep crazy stats, right? So why don't we keep stats about ourselves and our focus and our productivity the same way that they would? In a business, the same thing. We know our numbers. We know our P&L, our profit and loss, and we know all of that. But why not know what we're doing on an incremental basis? Because when you measure your minutes, you can control your years, right? And so, think about that. If you start managing your hours better, your minutes better, and your seconds, that's what I do with my clients. I get them getting more productive by getting back time, first with hours, then with minutes, then with seconds. And so, it's a productivity planner. And it's simple. It's made for a man, so it's really simple, but it's designed so that you can just plug and play, Google Sheet, and that's it. And I have all the instructions and it's very simple, but you know what, if you implement it, man, what a huge difference. I told you earlier, Alice went from 12 to 16 hours a day to 3. And now she's using this planner and she can't stop. She's probably going to shave that down to 2.5 or 2 and then keep going.
It's something that could help everyone, no doubt about it. And so I definitely encourage everybody to take a look. I'm excited to dive into it as well. Third question, a little bit off base here, but you brought it up. And so I want to dig a little bit deeper. And I don't even know the story to this, but you talked about life-changing or second chance. So you mentioned in reference to a coma as a kid. I don't know how old you are and what that experience was like, or what you remember, what you don't remember, but tell me a little bit more about that and how that maybe shaped you.
Well, certainly, I think it's shaped who I am on a big level, because I'm totally the black sheep in the family. And I'm talking not just my family, the extended family. And my parents have 9 brothers and sisters in one, and 13 in another. So I have tons of relatives. But the thing is, that jolt. I was less than 10 years old. It was a huge jolt. I was in a coma. Complete shock to my life, but I started looking at life a lot differently and questioning things and just really examining things. And so that jolt really caused me to look at things differently, do things differently. And as a result, I'm the only one who's gone on to higher education. I'm the only one who's like somebody reads, studies, and learns and looks at the world differently. So it's really made a huge difference. And that second chance has it's turned me around and made me look at people and things and life a lot differently, because even at a young age, I didn't realize I almost died. But, as I go through my life, I realized, the actions I took afterwards, the fear that was in there as a result of that, it's moved me in a direction that I couldn't even conceived. But also, it erased memory from my childhood, which might be a good thing, because they told me I lost all these brain cells. So, maybe those memories I didn't need, and they're gone. So
you don't remember from what age?
I don't remember, this was around 7 years old. So I don't remember a lot of my early years, whether, 3, 4, 5, 6, just glimpses, just very gray, very fuzzy, blurred lines. That's it.
Will that come back? Do they know? No.
I kind of doubt it, but and again, I think it's a good thing. I think it's I didn't need that. It's gone. It's erased, right? It's like amnesia. A positive amnesia. So
yeah, that truly was the restart, or the first of 2 restarts, as you referenced before, the other one from a business and life standpoint. So fourth question, and I think it kind of ties all of it together too, is the opportunity potentially to be doing some work in the future with your wife and collaborating and maybe bringing this all together. Tell me about that.
Well, certainly, she's doing something now that's called rapid transformational therapy, and it's been around for 30 years. And maybe it just came across the pond from the UK recently, but she basically goes inside the mind, accesses the part where the issues were originated, childhood, and solves them. And it's beautiful, because it's like rearranging mental furniture. So I don't do that extremely well with my clients. It could take a lot of time, but she does it really quickly. rapidly. That's why it's called rapid transformation. So she does it really fast. And then I come along, right? I follow up right behind her with my client or with our clients. And I start doing the same things with mindset, but taking what problems she has solved and making that even better. And then I implement systems and processes and so on. So the thing is, Pythagoras said, know thyself. So I want to know these people at a high level. She does that. She gets to know them, start solving those problems. I come in, start tweaking, tuning in. And next thing you know, within a few months, they're a completely different person and their life is changing for so much better.
Sounds like a pretty good partnership there. And the best of both worlds are leveraging both of those passions and talents. And so that certainly is something exciting. Whenever the next book comes, that'll be a big deal. Dan referenced some of the other books as well, including Living the Life of Your Dreams. You can find out all the information you would want at danlefave.com. And this was a great conversation. I think it's one that we all need right now. I think it's probably one that we've always needed, maybe even more so during these pandemic times, which, by the way, does not discriminate which side of the border or the world that you're on. So you guys are dealing with that in Canada. We're dealing with it here in the States. But I really appreciate the time, the wisdom. Wish you and your family the best and a happy holiday season. Stay safe. And Dan, thanks so much for taking time on Rounding the Bases today.
Thank you. It's been an honor, Joel.
All right, great to visit with Dan LeFave. And I wanted to remind everybody that my book is out. You can get it on Amazon. Small Ball, Big Results. Just search for that or punch my name in there and you will find it. Shout out to my sponsors, Kansas City Audio Visual, Kissa Construction, and Enterprise Bank and Trust. Businesses often come to Enterprise Bank because they need a partner that leverages a longer-term strategy in helping them to overcome short obstacles and in achieving their goals. Thanks for listening or watching, everyone. You can reach me at joelgoldbergmedia.com and hope to catch you next time on Rounding the Bases.